Sup guys, it's your boy Justin here with another book review. Today I'm reviewing a Japanese fantasy light novel, Planet of the Orcs, which there's also another book called Planet of the Orcs by two, I think it was like two writers. That has nothing to do with this, okay? I don't know how that happens where like okay, you could have two separate books with the same title. You would think there's copyright laws or something. But yeah, this is Planet of the Orcs, Book 1, by Himataro Zukunashi, published by Airship. I thought this was Seven Seas Entertainment. Well, it's also Seven Seas Entertainment. This goes for 14.99 US, 18.99 Canadian, rated teen, 13 plus. This book is around 228 pages, though the last 5 pages is like a bonus story. Yeah, so this book, the premise for the book is that, sorry if I sound like my nose is a little stuffed up. I'm probably going to get cold because I just walked my dog through the rain. It's a bit stormy outside. Yeah, so like the book is about basically our main character, who just goes by the name Hero, is Japanese neat, or they don't really describe him. So if you want to pretend he's American, you could, because though he makes a lot of Japanese references to Japanese folklore stuff, literature and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, he's probably Japanese, but if you want to pretend like he's like, whatever you want him to be, you could. Because I think that's probably one of the reasons why they don't have like character art for the characters. Or I assume it's also because this is not a harem style Japanese light novel. So so they probably thought, oh yeah, there's not going to be an anime based on this. So like, oh, let's not waste money on illustrations other than the main cover. But yeah, you could just pretend he's whatever. It doesn't matter. But he's probably Japanese. So yeah, our main character is like a NEET who one day got teleported to a fantasy world and is told by this, well, is given a mission by this mysterious presence to save this fantasy world, and in each world he goes to, he gets like special powers, right? So he gets summoned. He's now in his 20s. Or late 20s, and he gets. I think they said he was in his late 20s, and he gets teleported to his 13 world, where he has to save humanity from orcs. The problem is the orcs are. Not only do they outnumber the humans, but they also are more technologically advanced than the humans. They have guns and cannons, which are the only thing that humanity has going for them is that some of them could do magic, like produce like spears of light, which they can use as projectiles or slashing weapons, or they can have barriers. And they also have like ancient ruins that they use as fortresses. But besides from that, humanity is at a huge disadvantage, and our main character has to figure out how to get humanity to win against the orc horde, which have guns, by the way. Like the first battle he goes into, the humanity loses, and the person in charge of the army, which was the princess Liana, has no choice but to sacrifice herself and her contingent of knights that can use magic, which are like clerics. So like humanity is at a tough spot. Like he's given like a mission by the younger brother of the princess, who is also the king, to become the next field marshal, the person in charge of the army, and to find a way how to save humanity from the orcs. Which we also, there's points in the book where we get like the orcs perspective. Like the main bad guy orc in this book is called Black Dog, which is a Patrick Swayze movie. So I'm like, is this guy a Westaboo? Because there was a lot of like Game of Thrones stuff in the book, to the point where like halfway through the book you get introduced to this character, Meg Gianna, who is like who's like 16 years old, who's like a combination of Arya and Cersei, which was who I hated that character right off the bat, because he basically gets told by the king, hey, don't get involved in basically like domestic disputes like between lords, right? Because your job is to unite humanity against the orcs. And he's like, yeah, I totally agree. Until he sees like two knights chasing after a girl and a kid, and he assumes like, oh yeah, this is a girl in distress, I'm gonna go save her, only for it to turn out, oh no, he was getting baited into like basically putting the girl under her protection and being forced to getting forced into like familial dispute, right, over succession. So he gets completely screwed over because of that. And I forgot to mention, like, besides from our characters having magic, the humans having magic, they also have dragons. Though the dragons kind of suck in this book. They have breath weapons, aka fire. They can breathe fire. But besides from that, that's all they have going for them, and they're weak against guns. They don't have bulletproof scales like in most fantasy books, and they can't. And unlike with Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy series, the dragons are intelligent spellcasters as well, which sounds fucking crazy. But yeah, most dragons in fantasy are either intelligent and are also spellcasters. Here they're kind of dumb. So yeah, so I'll just go. I don't want to spoil the whole book, but like yeah, I really enjoyed the book because it's not like your typical Japanese light novel where it's obviously where most of them have like you could tell have never or barely read any traditional fantasy novels, have either read manga or played fantasy RPGs. Here you got the sense that okay, this guy's actually read some fantasy books, or at least watched Game of Thrones. There's a lot of stuff that reminded me of Game of Thrones in this book, and they also reference one of my favorite PSP RPGs, was based off a famous Japanese children's fantasy novel, which is called Brave Story. Which, if you haven't played Brave Story New Traveler, it's worth getting a PSP just for that, because that's an awesome game and it's super short. It's like 30 hours. You could beat it. Yeah, you could beat it less than 30 hours. So it has that going for all. And the book, you can tell, is how they handled the battles was kind of realistic, other than the magic elements, obviously, and the fact that the main character basically has like a Captain America physique, because he gets his body's enhanced, when he goes to these goes to these different worlds, but he has different magic powers depending on the magic abilities of the world he goes to. I like the fact that I like a lot of these fucking Japanese light novels. Like, there's not a lot of video game bullshit. There is some kind of, but like not really. Other than like he makes references to his hero abilities and like specs and stuff. There's not much video game bullshit, thank God. Most of his companions are not underage girls like in a lot of Japanese light novels. It's like, oh, there's like grown men and stuff, which thank God for that. Yeah. And I liked, though, like, come on, like, I did think his excuse for why he couldn't just help humanity develop their own guns was kind of weak. Like, why not just, because you find out that they like to capture orcs and steal food from the orcs, the humans do, right? So like, why haven't the humans tried taking the guns and replicating the guns? And then there's a point where they have this fortress that is also a dam that when it gets invaded by a army, they can open the dam and flood the army. At that point, they should have the whole army after that should have attacked the orcs, because he should have known that. Oh yeah, the water, which even Black Dog says this in his monologue. If they were to get attacked right now, they would be fucked, because the flood from the opening of the dam, the flooding, buried their cannons and destroyed their supplies and probably made their guns wet. So they wouldn't have, so most of their guns would probably misfire a lot. It's depending on, they don't really go into if the guns are cartridge or if they're like flintlock, you know what I mean? Or whatever, muskets. So depending if they were cartridge based, okay, there are a chance that sometimes the bullets would work if the gunpowder stayed dry in this cartridge. But like if they were black powdered weapons, they would be the orcs would have been fucked and they would have got decimated. But apparently our main character couldn't figure that out. So his like idea on how to make the orcs go away is by raiding orc villages with the dragons, right? Oh my god, which was a kind of clever idea, but it's like, dude, because it's like that's like something like the author probably got the idea from what's the Legend of Galactic Heroes, right? You get rid of the enemies by attacking their supply lines, which is what that happens a lot in like historical battles as well. So yeah, I like the book. I don't know if I like it enough to necessarily get the second book, which there's only one more book. Maybe I'll get it and review it if they don't have it at the chapters. What they did have it. If they don't have it anymore, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to order it. But it was a decent book. It's not like your typical. It's not like your typical Japanese light novel, but if I were to compare it to actual fantasy novels, it's not that good either. So it's a thing where it's better than your typical light novels, but it's not as good as like Western fantasy novels. So I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. But if you're a fan of Japanese light novels, I think this book is worth reading. Though I kind of didn't like how, like, I thought, like, based off the premise that, oh, the orcs are going to be good guys. In a way, they are and aren't. You know what I mean? They try too much to humanize the orcs when they're supposed to be the bad guys. So it's like, to the point where it's like the humans are the assholes here, because they also keep the orcs as slaves, even though the orcs are probably as smart, if not smart, because they have guns, right? And most of but which is so dumb that the humans wouldn't try to take the guns and figure out how the guns work. Oh, whatever, right? But yeah, that's it. 6 out of 10. My next book review is probably going to be this one, which I'm going to start reading next week. But in the meantime, we'll do a manga review. Hopefully I can read this before next. If I don't finish this book by Monday, I'm going to start reading this instead, okay? So maybe we'll have a review for this soon. Who knows? But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I'm probably not going to have any more videos until I beat Legend of Dragon. Okay, bye.